face to face.
Me too. I vote face to face.
Yeah.
But
I do, I do too, but with a Zoom component so that people who,
I
Right.
I I, I agree. I think that Zoom is never going to go away in terms of our
right,
weekday shiurim in the morning and the evening. I think that will be that will be something that continues beyond this. But I think that when it does, I don't know when that point comes, but at some point it will come. Bezrat Hashem,
Right.
that there will be the in-person shear, but I will leave that there will be a computer on the table,
mm,
and the people who want to participate over Zoom because they're somewhere else, the schedule didn't allow them to come in person, they will be able to participate. That will always be there. So,
Okay.
I
Okay.
guess, by the way, long term, Simeon, that means that there's always a seat for you at the table, no matter if you're in Florida.
Well,
uh,
Rav, I find that with the magic of Zoom, both my wife and I are doing more learning than we ever did up north.
right,
Uh, we've been tracking Rabbi Soloveitchik from the Spanish and Portuguese synagogue,
right.
and other shiurim. So, all right,
Yeah.
okay,
No, I think no, it's not just going to be us. This isn't going to go away. The online component, but I believe it will be a hybrid model.
okay,
Once the situation gets to be a little bit better.
okay. Good to see you, Rav.
Okay, yeah, all right. So, folks, we continue here. We were in the mid. Here's my plan for today. I want to finish the Mishnah Berurah's comments on Sif Aleph, which discusses hiring a non-Jew for a particular job with a fixed pay. It's not about that I'm paying them per hour. It's per the job. So if the job gets done Saturday, the job gets done Sunday, it doesn't get done Monday. It takes a few weeks. And they don't need to work on Saturday. They can just work whenever they want if they choose to. So these are the questions we've been dealing with, and what we've seen is that if you are dealing with a case, let me just zoom out just a little bit here. If you're dealing with a case where the malacha is in public, it's mifursemet, then we have a problem once again. Many of the Rishonim have a problem once again of maris ayin here, because people will think that the workers that they see on Shabbos are hourly workers, they're a daily worker. Therefore, they're going to make an incorrect assumption, but an assumption nonetheless, and it's something that Chazal feared. People assuming that other people were Mechalei Shabbos was not something that we wanted to have happen. One of the reasons that there is some machlokas with regard to this case, I should have made this point last time, is that this situation of a kablan, of kablanus, of a contracted worker, is not explicitly discussed in the Gemara. The case that was explicitly discussed, which we talked about in the previous siman, was a situation of a sharecropper, and this is being extrapolated from that case. Which is why, and I mentioned this last time, Rabbeinu Tam does not agree with this opinion. He is of the, at least on paper, initially, he was of the opinion that it was permissible to have a non-Jew build a house if they are contracted. Right? If they're not contracted, then it's a problem. What we would say me'ikar hadin, right, from the letter of the law, not a marasayan issue. Because then, if I'm paying them by the hour, then the work that they do on Shabbos is work that they did because I basically told them do the work, and here is even on Saturday I'm happy to give you your wages, and you'll get paid for the time that you worked on Saturday. That's more of a me'ikar hadin problem because I'm paying you for Shabbos work. In addition, that you're doing things on Shabbos, malacha on Shabbos, on my behalf. Right? You're doing it for me, as opposed to I paid you for a job. How fast it gets done, as long as it's done by 6 months from now, I'm okay, and you do it at your own pace. That's a different situation where maybe me'ikar hadin mutter, but then we have to deal with the question of marisayin. So we read that we read through the comments of the Mishnah Berurah. Screen's got to load. There we go. We read all the way up through Zion. Okay, so we were up to Ches. I just want to remind you what the Shulchan Aruch said here, so that we're not like, wait, what was going on? He writes. Let me get my handy dandy arrow. Hold on. Here comes the arrow. Okay, you could follow along with the arrow. There we go. So he'd written, Im haisa hamalacha. Turn the page. Ba Medina. If the malacha is in the Medina, literally Medina means a state. Okay, but he quickly points out here, the Mishnah Berurah, what is a Medina? Hainu bitoch ha'ir shekori Medina lifam. We're talking about the city. Sometimes a city can feel like a country. It can feel like a state, right? New York, the population, it makes it feel like, New York City, it feels like a Medina. Okay, so sometimes that's how they use the word here, but really all we're talking about is in the city, or besocha tchum, or it's outside the city, but within the bounds of the tchum of 2,000 amot, outside the last, past the final house of the city. So it's in the tchum, within the boundaries of a particular location. If that's where the work is happening, on my house, on my wall, on my building, whatever it is. So I can't allow the non-Jew, I have to actively tell them, please do not do the work on Shabbos on my property, which is within the tchum, which is in the city. Why? Mipnei haroim yodim shepasak. Now this is very important. The Shulchan Aruch establishes a reason for it, which now means that if the reason, you could start to suggest, because of that, if the reason is subverted, then maybe there's no issue here. He says, because people will see and they won't, they haroim she'enam yodim. I forgot the one word on the edge. That they don't understand that you've made a deal, you stipulated that, I'm just going to have you do the job. I'm paying you for the job, not for the hour, not for the day. But people won't know that, and they'll make assumptions that they are working in an improper fashion. The Ramah, quoting the Chuvas Ashkenazim here, goes even further and says, Im dar bein ha'eno Yehudim, if the Jew, you say, but what you see, that it's all about the people that see, right? So what if I'm the only Jew in town? We're the only family in town, which, by the way, was not an unheard of scenario. There were some towns, by the way, that we know in medieval Jewish history, it was not uncommon. They literally had 10 men. They literally basically had a minyan. And if you went, there are chuvas. What happens if you want to go on vacation? Now the shul can't have a minyan, particularly on the high holidays. So when it comes to the holidays, you have to, you have to replace yourself or something like that. You have to be able to bring somebody else in from the, I don't know, there are discussions about this. So let's say you have a town where there was only one Jewish family, right? Maybe whatever circumstances they had to live there for parnasa. So yesh lachush laorchim habaim sham. So why can't I have my house be worked on? Why can't I have my building be worked on? Why? Because maybe the whole guests will show up. They'll say, "What do you mean? You're the only Jew in town. Who's going to show up on Shabbos?" And okay, maybe there are guests though. That come to you for one particular Shabbos, or that you didn't even know they were vacationing in that town on Shabbos and they're walking by and they see the mezuzah on the door, whatever it is. Oh, you could say, why can't the work get done? Because your own family members, b'nei beso, will be like, wait, what's going on here? They learn in Cheder that you can't do this. And yet, Tati organized the malacha on Shabbos. So what's going on here? So that's That's what the Chuvas Ashkenazim said. I'd like to make the suggestion that perhaps it's not about the fact, even if you're the only non-Jew, if you're only the only Jew in town, I would just say that the easiest way to explain why you might extend it to even if you're the only family is because if Chazal made the Gzeira in such a way to say that B'tocha Tchum and B'tocha Medina, it's problematic. If it's in the middle of nowhere, so then it's permissible. And you want to start to say there's one family, 10 families, 5 families, low plug. You might just say the easiest way to explain what the Chuvas Ashkenazim here is doing, he's trying to stretch for a reason. You might just be easy enough to argue it's a low plug, meaning we don't start to make differentiations based on how many people are in town, but he tries to give some reasons. Let's read the Mishnah Berurah. We're not even done yet with the there's a little bit more here. Actually, let's read it.
The whole concern here is not Mikar Adin, it's all Marasayan.
Correct.
So Rav, so if I put up a lawn sign, contracting by Salerno Construction or something, am I off the hook?
Good. So he's going to discuss, the Mishnah Berurah is going to discuss that. What about if you publicize the arrangement, right?
Okay.
So Simeon points out, well, put the lawn sign. The Fensterheim contractors. No, that's a bad case. They're Jewish, but you get the point. And then everyone who walks by on Shabbos, okay, they're contracted. You can even put the arrangement or the agreement to laminate it and put it in the sign or something like that. Anyways, the imhaisa. Let's just finish the Shulchan Aruch because I realize it's all just related. The imhaisa hamalacha chutz latchum. The malacha here is indeed outside the tchum. V'gam ein ir acheres besoch tchumo, and there is no other city within his tchum shel makom she'osim bo malacha where the malacha is being done. So it's the middle of nowhere, really. Okay. So mutter. Okay, so you own a factory in the midst of nowhere. It's not within the tchum, not within the tchum of another city. It's like they're probably look. It could be people who live outside of tchum and they're in tiny little pockets here and there. Exists. It's not a city, so that it's mutter. It's outside the tchum. Why? Because obviously there, no one's going to see. No Jew is going to see in the middle of nowhere on Shabbos. They're not going to walking by because it's usher to walk by. You can't walk outside the tchum. So this is an interesting case. So we'll talk more about it. Not today. Well, a non-Jew who brings in the flock of the Jew, ladir sadeu, to graze in his field. So he says we'll talk about that in another later siman Tafkuf Lamed Zayin, particularly Sif Yudal. And when we get towards the end of the siman, I'll show you what it says over there with regards to grazing. Right, so everyone knows it's Klinger's sheep, right? But Klinger's not actually grazing the flock. Some guy is grazing the flock. He's leading the flock. So what, is it a problem that's in the non-Jews field, but they all know, wait a minute, Klinger has that particular speckled sheep. He even wrote Klinger on the wool, on the outside to make sure everybody understood. But I'm not actually doing the work. I'm not doing malach. I'm not grazing the animal on Shabbos. There may be some actually bigger problem with this, because if it's my animal, what's the problem? It says it in Kiddush, by the way, and explicitly in the Torah, right? Your animals also can't do certain things on Shabbos. It's very clear, and so it doesn't matter maybe even who's doing the malacha. Once it's your animal can't do things on Shabbos. If it does it on its own, meaning the sheep, did its own malacha on Shabbos, the cow did its own malacha on Shabbos. I didn't tell it to do it. I wasn't even there, and the cow was doing malacha on Shabbos. That's the cow's problem. That's his problem with the Rabbanu Shalom, not mine. But
it's my understanding that Shabbos does not constitute a prohibition, for example, from feeding your pets or taking...
No, for sure not. But if they do a malacha, right? So let's say that they're in the field, and using, and suddenly they're plowing, right? Oh, I'm not doing the malacha. I'm just holding the thing, and he's doing the malacha. You can't do that. That may even be a biblical prohibition, not as the rabbinic prohibition of, amira lebehema. That's having your animal do the work is your problem on a biblical level. We'll talk more about that. The same, by the way, goes for children. It's a big misconception. People think, oh, I'll have my child who's below bar bat mitzvah turn on the light, turn on. It says it in the Torah. You can't do that. So that's actually also a serious problem that oftentimes is not always understood. But it's in the pasuk; it's explicit in the Torah. It couldn't be more clear. Okay, let's take a look now at the Mishnah Berurah's comments. And if we have a few moments, I want to start this very lengthy bear halacha over here. It talks about the question of, can a house be built on Shabbos? And what does that mean in our day and age, when I would say that 99.9% of arrangements, at least in the United States of America, not sure about the rest of other countries in the world, where the work is done by, I as the homeowner, hire a contractor to do the work. It's true the contractor will turn around and maybe will pay others by the hour, and as long as everybody here in this arrangement is not Jewish, can I have them? And notwithstanding, by the way, the question of they make noise on Shabbos and they're making me crazy. What happens if I don't live there? They're building my house. I don't live in this house yet. I'm moving from some other house. So I'm not even there. Cannot be built on Shabbos. Cannot be built not just on Sunday through Friday, but also on Shabbos. Let's take a look though. Test hatchum. So it has to be with hatchum. It's a problem if it's within the tchum because the people there, they take walks on Shabbos and they'll walk right by and they'll see exactly what's happening and they'll suspect that I'm violating Shabbos. Lahanicha. I have to tell them not to do the work on Shabbos. Isa b'sifches simin. Sorry, that's not sifches. Isa b'sefer chasidim. Sorry, Sefer Chasidim is an interesting work. I think I've told you before. My favorite halacha from Sefer Chasidim, halacha from Sefer Chasidim is that you're not allowed. The man is not allowed to marry a woman who has the same name as his mother. Okay, that's why I said Sefer Chasidim has halacha sometimes. It's not always based on any kind of Talmudic precedent. Anyways, so there it says in Siman Shin Mem Chet, Maseh be'adam echad. There's always a story of Sefer Chasidim. It's an Ashkenazi work, by the way, from the medieval period. The story with a person, Shesachar Eino Yehudi Libdos Beiso beKablanos. He hired him properly. It was Kablanos, non-Jew, to build the house. V'haya ha'eino Yehudi bone b'Shabbos. So what happened? He built it on Shabbos. Okay, technically Me'ikar Adin, it's mutter. V'hayu misramim alav. And they were complaining to him. You shouldn't do such a thing. It's Marisayan issue. And they didn't. He didn't. Me'ikar Adin, it's fine. Stop handling me and making me crazy. V'lo hayu yomim muatim shel nishar hakarka lo v'lo l'zara. Few days pass, the property is destroyed, and it has nothing to be left for him or for his heirs. The property is gone. I don't know what happened. Did they get fire? Got swallowed up with Korach? I don't know. It's a story, and that's why it's very important to know this coming from Sefer Chasidim. Lefi Aniyus Dati. I don't know that the story actually happened. I think it's a story that's told in order to try to get people to do certain things. And in order to get people to comply with halacha, I'll tell you a story of somebody who didn't and they lost their whole house. So, again, point well taken. Maybe me'ikar hadin, you shouldn't do it. Because of Maris Ayin, you shouldn't do it. That's the Gzeira of Chazal. Maybe. You understand the Gemara in a certain way. And you're telling a story just to drive the point home. Anyways, Yud Aleph, this is the Ramah's point about what about if you're the only family in town? Ritzono lomar shehudar michutz l'tchum ha'ir. V'gam ein ir acheres b'soch tchumo. You're the only family in the tchum, and there's nobody else in the tchum who lives there, Jewish. Afilu hachi us, it's still problematic. Maybe you'll have guests show up, unexpected. You didn't know that there was another Jewish family that had come to vacation in town over Shabbos. I don't know. Do when people will suspect you. That which we are lenient outside the tchum to allow such work. That's when the malacha is over there, right? Because that's outside. Aval hu ba'atzmo dar ba'ir. But I live in the city. The work is happening outside, right? Nobody's there. Only the non-Jewish people are there. Nobody's walking by that's Jewish. Everyone who could see what's going on is not Jewish. Yud Beis, v'gam be'ir acheres. I'm sorry, I don't know why I'm not making this bigger. It's a smaller section. I could zoom in. V'hu hadin kishadar sham ezo Yehudi b'soch hatchum shel malacha gam kein aser. When so let's say I'm not there, but it's in another town, and there are plenty of Jews in that town where I'm doing this building project. And everybody knows who I am. I just don't live in the town, but everyone knows I own that business. But so there are other Jews who live in that tchum where the malacha is happening. Gam kein aser, that's still problematic. V'yitzavela ha'eino Yehudi kodem Shabbos shelo yaseh b'Shabbos. So I should do. I'm not going to be there obviously on Shabbos. I can't stop them if they're going to do it. So what I should do is before Shabbos, give them a call. They just please make sure don't do the work on Saturday. It's my people's Sabbath. So just you'll pick up on Sunday.
Rabbi. Is there a concept of Marit Ayin by the non-Jew who can point to situations where, you're allowed to do this now, how come the other guy didn't allow it, etc.?
Yes. The answer to that question is yes. We're actually about to talk about that. What happens, I don't remember who mentions this here. Oh, it's Aruch HaShulchan. Here, let me actually, it'll come up in the Mishnah Berurah here in just a second as well. Under my computer, one sec. But this comes up in the question of can you build a public Jewish building on Shabbos like a shul or a beis medrash? Everybody understands what's going on, meaning it's public knowledge. Right? If you remember, and oftentimes there used to only be one shul in town. I know it's not always true in the history of the Jewish people. It's for sure many towns have had multiple shuls. But let's say you take a small town where there's one shul and there are 25 families. Everybody knows what's going on. Right? What Maris Ayin could there be? You're literally building it on behalf of the community, so everyone knows what the arrangement is. And furthermore, it's a communal institution, and you want to have a shul, you want to have a beis medrash. So we're going to talk about that. One of the reasons that they're going to say it's problematic is because the non-Jews themselves, a little bit different in your case time, but the non-Jews themselves on their holidays don't do work. They're not building their houses on Christmas. They're not doing their thing. Sorry, somebody. They're not doing their work. But yeah, we on our holidays tell them it's okay, work can be done. So they say it's almost a little bit of a Chil Hashem business here because we're not respecting our holiday. So yes, it's kind of like that case of like the non-Jew is like, what? Why am I doing work for you on your holiday? I don't do work for my, I don't have anybody doing work for me on my holiday. So there's a little bit of that that's going to happen here in the Mishnah Berurah and the Aruch HaShulchan. Let's take a look. Mutter. When is it mutter? When it's outside the tchum, outside the city. Why? Because the two leka mishum Maris Ayin. There's no Maris Ayin concern anymore of people seeing and thinking what's going on here. The Eino Yehudi, and by the letter of the law here, the non-Jew, he katarach, when he decides to work on Saturday, he doesn't have to work on Saturday. B'tidei katarach, he just wants to get the work done faster. I didn't tell him he has to work on Shabbos. V'hinei mitoch masher yisbar b'zeh ha'seif muchach, and what it says here in this seif, muchach, it's sort of proven the osir liskor ha'eino Yehudi b'kablanos lifnot zivlo mechatzer. What can't I do? I can't hire a non-Jew to clear out the excrement, the zevel from my courtyard. Let's say there are animals doing their business there, and so it's not pleasant maybe on Shabbos. V'hu oseh bo b'Shabbos, d'hu metaken hachotzer bazeh. So there now he's removing it and he's kind of fixing my chotzer, my courtyard, by removing the zevel. V'hu bichlal, and this is part of meleches mechubar, things that are, I'm fixing the karka, I'm fixing the property, and not so much I'm fixing the metaltalin, movable items and objects here. And he says v'yesh mekomos shenogin heter lisochro likach hazevel mirechov. So when people see that they're moving around the fertilizer on Shabbos in my chotzer, and people walking by and they see my gardener working there, they're gonna say, look at that guy, he hired him on Shabbos, working, getting rid of the zevel, moving it around. That's he's doing all sorts of gardening, which may look problematic, but even though I arrange as a kabbalan, you'll do it. You'll come and whenever I need the zevel removed, you'll just come and do it. Some though have a heter. If you hire somebody to take the excrement, the fertilizer, whatever, from the city, from the streets, af she'osebo b'Shabbos, meaning it's in a public street. And on behalf of the Jewish community, let's say it's in our shtetl, it's in our quarter, we hire some non-Jew to clean the streets so that when we're walking to shul or we're taking walks on Shabbos, people are not going to have to deal with the smells. Because of the Ragir Avram, the reason the Ragir Avram says it's permissible, because it's something that's on behalf of the entire community. Everybody understands that the community arranged for this. So once we know that the community arranged for this, there's no chshad anymore. We all know why the guy's taking the excrement off the streets, in the public streets, not in the private courtyards. There's no more reason for chshad, says the Magen Avraham. Aval, b'schir yom, but if you hire that person, not as a kabbalah, meaning if I hire the person, I want you to, your job is to always remove excrement, right, from the streets. Fixed price. This is I'm hiring you for the for the month, for the year. You have a fix, whatever. Doesn't matter how many times the sheep does his business. It could be once, it could be 365 times in the year. Your job is to clear things out. But if I actually hired you for the day, I saw it's a terrible situation, and so right before Shabbos, I called the guy and I say, tomorrow morning, please remove, and we'll pay you for the day. I know it'll take you, whatever it takes you, you get this pay for Shabbos. Then, Shita, the Osir, it's obviously problematic. I'm paying you for work on Shabbos. Right? That's always a problem. If I pay you explicitly for work on Shabbos, that's a problem of Schar Shabbos. I'm not allowed to do business, straight up business on Shabbos like that. It had, the way that the rabbi set it up is I can do it behavla, if it's mixed in with other payments as well. But v'achronim hisigu al tamo. Some of the achronim don't even like the Magen Avram's reason of the bishel rabim. Since everybody knows it's okay. V'datam the ein nafkamina bazeh. Ha'inyan bein rabim liyachid. They say no, it's prohibited. There should be no reason to distinguish and differentiate between public and private here. It's all problematic. V'gam hu ba'atzmo kosav lebesof hasimit lebesof the makom she'ein ogim heter. The Avram himself says if they don't have a heter there, that's not the custom in that place where they allow such a thing. B'rechov ein lahakel. Then don't be lenient if that's not. There are some places where it was already the custom. So we can justify why it's okay. But if that's not the custom, you shouldn't get involved in this. Ayin sham, and he says there, take a look. Tamo de yesh chil Hashem bedavar, because there's a little bit of chil Hashem. And this relates to what I said earlier. Why? Because I'm telling the non-Jew, do work for me on Shabbos. I don't do work. I know on your holiday you don't do work, but it's okay. You can do work on my behalf on Shabbos. And so that's a little bit confusing, and it's a little bit of a desecration to God that such a thing could happen. I have to stop because it's about to be 7:30, and we'll continue this case next week here. He talks about, and we'll spend more time on this, about the shul. The question of can a shul be built on Shabbos, again, that's on behalf of everybody in the community. The kablanus, is there a problem of marisayin or no? Everybody knows what's happening with the shul. And so we'll look at the Mishnah Berurah here and the Aruch HaShulchan. And what I want to do next time with you is take a look at this giant Be'er Halacha where he discusses the whole sugya really of building on Shabbos. I think it's a really beautiful piece where he kind of works through the Gemara, the Rishonim, the different opinions, and sort of comes out with some bottom line takeaways. And we'll bring it down to a modern setting of can you build on Shabbos. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.